Hello and welcome to Sculpey 101. This is class number 5 and we're going to be doing ears. If you haven't done classes 1 through 4, click over here and then come back and we're going to make some ears. Okay, so first things first. Ears are complicated. The only way to really wrap your mind around them is to simplify them into simpler shapes. So again, I'm going to bring out Philippe's awesome progression board here. And you can see what he does. It starts with basically like a capital D-shaped letter. He scribes a kind of question mark in there, and then does all the complicated bits after that. So let's walk through that, shall we? The first thing I like to do when I'm making ears is make a lump of clay that I feel is probably big enough for 2 ears. Once I got that, I roll it into kind of a capsule shape. And then I cut that in half. And that way you have approximately a symmetrical amount of clay for each ear. Just kind of block them in place. Look at it from a couple different angles to make sure that, you know, they're sitting at approximately the right part of the head. I'm using the word approximately a lot right now. I'm not sure why. I might be getting tired and hot. It's so hot in here. Okay, so looks about right. Again, let's look at the diagram, and you'll notice that the ear, if you draw a line from basically the top of the nose, bottom of the eyebrow, around the eye, straight back, that's about the top of the ear. Bottom of the ear should be close to about the nose. Looks like I've got it a little bit low on this side. Bottom of the nose, top of the nose. Okay. Now I kind of shortcutted you on this a bit. So I had a ball. Let's start this over. So you've got your 2 equally sized ear balls. And what I do is I grab it and I just kind of pinch it. Work it around there, and then that way you've got this wedge shape. And you've got your capital D. Put it where I want it. And that way you naturally have the ear kind of sticking out towards the back, and it's easy to blend in when it's time for that. Then I do my little pinchy thing, right? I'm pinching with my fingers around the cusp of the ear down here, kind of giving it, you know, it's bigger at the top, it narrows down at the bottom at the earlobe. And I tend to bounce back and forth between both ears. I don't do one ear and then move to the next ear, because when you do that, you kind of, I don't know, you tend to end up with lopsided ears that don't match very well. Okay, now for the question mark. So again, you don't gouge into it. You start by drawing very lightly. And the top and back of the question mark pretty much follows the top cusp of the ear. And then about 3/4 of the way down, it cuts into that way and then down like that. And when I'm using my tool, this particular tool, I'm using it at an angle. I'm not pointing straight into the material. It's more like this, right? Or this. And that helps me to get a more formed divot rather than just a flat line. So I'm going to go in and smooth this in a little bit. Now, once you've got your curly Q question mark, continue that curl straight down. So it pretty much goes to the middle of the ear right there. And as I'm doing this, I'm using my tool at that angle, like I said, and kind of pushing the material into smooth lumps rather than having just a deep gouged line, right? There will come a time for gouging, don't you worry. Okay, let's move to the other side. This one's a little trickier because you have to do a backwards question mark. I cut it in a little too early there, so reestablishing the line lower down and then just smoothing over that. Okay, now is the time for gouging and scooping. I know, it's such an exciting time. Okay, here we go. So, first thing we're going to do is establish this little dinkerdoodle, whatever that is called. This nubbin. And what you'll notice is that, okay, so this is the question mark we drew, right? It's this line here, and it goes down deep into this part of the ear. So the bottom of that question mark is where the dinker-do number thing is. So if you follow the outside of your question mark, right, so you've got this cusp of the ear travels around and then down into it, and then this is where you've got your nubbin. And so that's pretty important to establish right there, because on the other side of it you get to start digging. So we're basically going to scoop out this whole center section here. But even though you're kind of wrecking the bottom of your or the inside of your question mark loop here, it's still important to do first, so that when you're redrawing it back in there, you're still connecting it properly. You don't want to start by gouging the middle of the ear out, because then you're just kind of guessing. You're kind of shooting in the dark there. Whoop! Look at that. Okay, so if that happens, it's because, like an idiot, you forgot to do the thing I didn't tell you to do, which is to squash down this back area. And by squash down, I mean blend it into the back of the head. So I'm taking my tool, I'm kind of going in like a U-shaped motion, because I'm pulling the material in and against the back of the head. I'm not worried about taking it too deep at this point. Most of the time you're going to have hair or a hat or something covering it. If you're doing, you know, a bald-headed character, or you really need to see the back of the ear, there's a lot more detailing you'll do to that, but you still want to do the inside first. Well, I still want to do the inside first. Let's do it on the other side before we forget. Okay, now the bottom part of the question mark here resolves and kind of depends on the ear, but in most cases, you can see, like in this example one, it kind of follows this line around and ends up at the nubbin there. Sometimes they kind of travel down a little bit, especially if there's pierced ears and stuff like that. Depends on the person, but generally the line kind of peters out a bit, you can say. And a good way to peter a line out is with the soft tool. So you go from a very crisp, defined line to kind of just fades away. Okay, we need to get in here and do some more gouging. So this is getting towards the actual ear canal. It's down in this area. Okay, now up here, let's go back to the top of the question mark. This funny looking guy here turns into a Y at the top, so kind of mark this area in and scoop it out. A little pie wedge. Shaper is super handy for smoothing out those delicate little folds and stuff that occur in hard to reach areas. Okay, for the back of the ear, it helps to draw a line of about a uniform thickness that follows the edge of the cusp, and that's the edge at which you want to start pushing your material down. Carefully, because you're going to start mucking up what you've got inside of the ear if you're not careful. Tends to get a little bit thicker around the earlobe. Then I'm just going to start scooping some of this away. Okay, and now this trough that happens in the back of the ear, basically there's this line where the flesh meets the skull, or the head skin. So I kind of push that in with I mean, it's basically a V-shaped trench. And then I carefully put my finger on that side of the ear. do more or less the same thing on along that line. Okay, I think that'll do it for the ears. Let's call that a class. And the next one, when we come back, we're going to make a hand. Hand. Get it? Just kidding, it's not a joke. Serious. It's not a joke.